I want to start with a quick introduction of our keynote speakers today. Next to me is Lucas Matney. He's a writer for TechCrunch. He's covering VR and AR startups mostly. Then we got David. David is working as a freelance. He's working for WDR, WDR, right? And he actually shot his first 360-degree video back in 2010. And next to him is a guy you probably know. Someone did already see him before. It's Jan-Keno Janssen. No one. It's Jan-Keno Janssen. He's senior editor for Computer Magazine and also for Heise Online. And he's not only, but mostly or intensively covering VR, virtual reality for Heise. Next to him is Luca. You need to help me. Caracciolo?
Caracciolo, right.
Well, he is editor-in-chief of T3N magazine. That's a print magazine about digital economy. And he's also covering virtual reality in this context. When we got Leeb, she is a photographer by heart and also added VR to her portfolio lately. So she's also shooting 360 videos and she will show us some of her projects. And we got to a far right side, we got Lutz Knappmann, and Lutz Knappmann is head of editorial, wait a minute, head of editorial innovation at Süddeutsche Zeitung. And in this role, he was also, well, he's helping, as said, to learn about virtual reality and to start the first VR projects. I am Matthias. This is not my normal voice, this is my cold voice. I'm having a cold. And I am founder and editor-in-chief of VRODO.de, which is a virtual reality magazine for enthusiasts. Okay, maybe to get things started, I'm asking a question which is maybe somewhat the elephant in the room right away. We got Immersive Media, that's in the title for this panel, Immersive Media. Actually, we are so many people that the table is not long enough. Maybe we can come a bit closer. So, Immersive Media, we got VR and then we got 360 video, both as part of this Immersive Media. So my question would be, is there actually something like VR journalism already? Does it exist? Or is it really just 360 journalism right now? Because most journalism projects we see are actually videos. Where do we draw the line? Maybe Lutz, in your position as head of editorial innovation, would you consider 360 video as VR already? I read your description of your app you released, and you describe both. You say it's for virtual reality and it's for 360 video, but so far I only found 360 videos.
That's true. Basically, from my point of view, this is more a semantic question because in a way, virtual reality is for me the whole world of being able to transfer your viewer into a place where he isn't physically present. And that's the point. Whether I do this through CGI or whether I do this through video is the next question. But that's why we chose to label our project as SZVR, because that's basically the foundation of everything. And indeed, we are doing 360 videos right now. And let's see what's going to happen in a few years' time.
I'm very interested in Google Daydream in this part because
we can talk about that later, sure, yeah.
And we are. Oh, you have a slide for that?
No. So presence can be achieved through video as well. Jan-Keno, I'm looking at you because you do have a different opinion.
I'm not particularly against 360 video, but I think it's not VR because the thing about VR is that you can walk around in different virtual areas and virtual rooms, and you can touch things, you can interact with things. And with the 360 video, I'm just inside a ball with a projection of a flat 360 surface, and I can't go near something I want to see better. I can't touch things, and that's what I don't like about 360 video. But of course, 360 video is great for if you cover, like a protest in front of the Bundestag or something. You can do live streaming. But another negative aspect about 360 video, and I think we share this opinion, is that 360 cameras are not so good at the moment. That they might have a decent quality when you watch the videos on a flat screen, like on a smartphone or something. But if you actually use them with VR goggles, they don't look too good. And they are most of them are 2D and not even 3D, and that's a big problem as well.
Can I give a short answer to that?
Of course,
yeah.
Because my point of view is way more optimistic on that and way more basic in a way, because you have to imagine I'm working for a legacy media company, a printed newspaper for decades. So the audience we address is not at all informed about what's possible in VR, in AR, or in any of these techniques. What we do is experiment and give them a first shot and a first look at what's possible and what we are capable of. And that already is so fascinating for many of them.
But only for a short period of time. Don't you think
course.
when they try PSVR that they know, oh, that's also possible with VR?
Of course. The technology is going to evolve. The offerings of media companies are going to evolve. But for me, it's the most important point to get started and to start your experiments, to learn about the technology and to learn, and that's very important, which of these offerings suit your needs and create an audience and which don't, and to decide whether the one or the other is the way to go.
The problem when you stick too long with cardboard VR or 360 videos, I think it's then you want the people come back to your VR platform. And I think when you stick too long on these 360 videos, that the people think, oh, that's okay, I like it, can look around, okay, that's all. I don't come back because
I've seen VR.
Yeah, I've seen VR, that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem when you, I don't know how your strategy is, but I am on Keno's side and what I find very interesting are all these things which De La Peña did in the past and what she's experimenting. I know it's expensive stuff. You need good people to implement all this, but that's really interesting, and that are the interesting questions that are made there in this project.
But I can absolutely understand why you're doing this, because you can't expect your readers to have HTC Vive or Oculus Rift at home, because I don't know, both companies don't tell us how many units they sold yet, but I think it's only a 5-figure number, yes. I would say. So it's a good idea at the moment to give people stuff they could also watch on flat devices, like tablets or smartphones, and on these €5 cardboard viewers. But I think the much more interesting thing about VR is what comes in the future when people really have access to real VR equipment.
Luca, what's your stats on that?
I think access is an important point to touch on, because I think there's a responsibility for journalists in terms of producing content that can reach a pretty wide audience. And I think that I wouldn't say that anyone walks away from seeing a cardboard 360 video and it's just like, I mean, some people will see it and they're like, wow, this is the first cool thing I've seen. But otherwise, I think it's a short-term medium. I don't think that, especially flat, I mean, stereoscopic 360 video might have some staying power just because, I don't know, I think the capturability of it is pretty easy for simple simple devices. But I think that in terms of building products and experiences that your readers can access easily and actually see the news, I think it's pretty important.
Julia, David, you are both producing 360 content right now. Do you consider yourselves VR journalists? Did you ever think about it? Okay.
I think. But what I wanted to say, what really is a thing about this new Google thing, or perhaps other things which are evolving in the moment, is, for example, with Google Daydream, you can put your story into episodes. That's not a good thing for every story, but I think there are stories where you can put a new episode for one topic about every 4 weeks or so, and you can get the reader, the watcher, the user back to your experience and have a new look at it. So that's fine. Oh, that's
Lauter? Julia, what do you think?
I think it's very technical based now, and I totally concentrate on the content.
Okay.
And for example, in Germany, we have a huge trust issue with the press. The word of the year was Lügenpresse, that means lying press. So me as a freelancer, it's difficult, yeah, because I have all the risk, and on the other side, I also have outsider teams. So I was, for example, concentrating on the conflict in Congo. There is a war. In the last 20 years, 6 million people got killed, and nobody talks about it. And the press doesn't want to write about it. So I bought a camera from Color, and I just went in the plane, and I went there, and I talked to United Nations, and they told me I cannot go to the area where the warlords are living. But it was possible. I went there, I left the area, I went through the no man's land, I went to the area of the warlords, and I brought material back.
And you did
Yes.
use 360 video
and
for it?
this means I made a conflict visible, and this is not just a video clip, it is a political provocation. Because United Nations with billions and trillions cannot go there, but a German freelancer can, and can bring the material, and with this VR, or 360-degree video, I brought thousands of people on exactly this spot where the United Nations can't go.
Okay.
So this was my goal, and for this, I think I reached my goal.
Well, that's just the only way you can do it right now, I guess. Is anyone on this panel a believer in 360 content watched on a monitor screen?
No.
As we are a TV broadcaster, many people ask about how do we get the 360 video on our TV screen, but I'm
guessing the most 360 videos are actually watched on a 2D screen.
Yeah, that's my impression as well. I didn't even think about it, but a lot of people are watching this on a flat screen. And when I told them, hey, you can push this little button and then you can watch it with a wow, that's even better. But I think that's a good thing about 360 video, that you can watch it on regular devices.
Yeah. You know, there are cool moments also in 360 videos, like from the New York Times about the battles in Syria, and there's a reporter, and there is a cell, one square meter.
Yes.
And when you stand, it's a 360 video, so it's nothing special, but you stand there for 1 minute, and it's a huge moment of presence, that you stand there and you see this cage that is really so small, and so I don't want to talk only bad about 360 videos,
of course.
But there are moments of good presence, but I think you have to go a step further.
If we do it, yes?
Yeah, sorry, just to talk a little bit about the numbers, because the experience we make is there is an audience for 360 videos also on your desktop. The videos we made are presented as well in an app as on the browser, and at least a third of our browser users are watching this on a desktop. And you can like that from a technological standpoint or not, but there is an audience for that. And as long as we see, and that's one of the most important learnings we have from our stories, that there is, in fact, not the effect that everybody's watching the first VR movie and then turning away because, nice, I've seen the effect and that's about it. But they are returning, and they are even returning more often the better the content is. And when you learn that it's about the story, just like in any other journalistic format, then I'm rather optimistic about the future of 360 videos on all platforms.
I think one of the interesting things about watching 360 videos on desktop and mobile is that there's an opportunity for content creators to kind of build a narrative in the way that when you're looking at kind of a frame of the sphere, you can kind of direct like the pass and direct viewers' attention to certain areas and kind of tell the story without them having to even swipe. That can be kind of interesting at times and not disorienting like it would be if you tried to move the frame with a headset on.
If we do agree that 360 video is maybe not the final form for VR journalism, what would your vision be? How would true VR journalism look like? Because, quite frankly, I have no idea how this could look like.
We did a thing about a story about Chernobyl in April. That was which was 30 years ago. The nuclear reactor exploded, and we had a lot of data. We recorded there with dosimeters and so on, and how much is there. And we had the problem to put these data to connect that with our video. So we would like to have connected that to get a better story, to get the data right nice into the video, but it was not possible because we were under pressure. It was time to publish that. And that would be, for example, another step to get that story further, to also put a nice data part into this video, to integrate it.
Okay. Any other ideas?
I think we are talking about things which exists in real life, and I think the main thing for me about VR is that it is like a dream-fulfilling machine, that you can do things you can't do in the real world. And 360 videos, I think it's it can be a powerful medium, of course, but it shows the world how it is. But I think with VR we can do things which are absolutely not possible in the real world. For example, if I do a piece about book sales in the US versus Germany or something, I can do a virtual reality experience where the books are a big tower.
Data journalism, basically. Data journalism, basically. Yes,
somehow, yes, but it's like a graphic or a diagram. I can go in, and then I have, I don't know, the book tower for Germany's book sales 2015 and the US book sales 2015, and I can grab a book and the tower falls down and stuff. So you can, that sounds really crazy, and it's not, I don't know if that's something people would like to do, but I think there is a lot of potential in visualizing complicated data in VR in a very fun way, I think. And I think that's what I'm very much interested in the future to do in VR and in the context of journalism.
Maybe before we dive deeper into the pros and cons of virtual reality for journalism, we can take a step back and talk a bit about journalism about VR, since we have several editors here who are writing about VR, and I'm guessing you have certainly some interesting opinions to share. Jan-Keno, you are covering VR since the very first days with DK1.
Yes, since 2013.
You know Palmer Luckey personally.
Bit embarrassing today.
I just wanted to ask if you throw away your paper.
Yeah.
You got
there was just news that Palmer Luckey, the founder of Oculus, that he financed pro-Trump troll organization.
It's even worse than that, but
it's
okay. Is there a particularly hard aspect when writing about immersive media?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. What I want to say about that is that at the beginning, when VR came up in 2013, people were really interested interested about that, and they, oh, now VR is coming again, because we had that VR wave in the mid-90s, and now it comes again, and now we have the holodeck, great, and everybody was very much interested in this, and we saw that in clicks, that people really read our articles. But I think since then the numbers, the interest went down, because people were kind of put off by all these great things with VR, which they can't experience themselves. Because when we write about VR and VR experiences, you need a headset for this, and not many people are able or don't have these headsets, because if you want to have a HTC Vive or Oculus Rift, you need the computer for this, you need to pay at least 2,000 euros.
Yes.
And this is something what I think is really interesting. If that number if that interest goes up again when more people get their hands on VR headsets. And the other thing is that it's of course very difficult to convey to the people what you feel and what you see in VR, because you can't film it, you can only film, or you can only capture the thing the person sees in VR, and that will make people dizzy, because of course they're the head movements of the person who is experiencing VR. This is not very nice to look at, and otherwise you have to describe this with words, and this is of course really difficult.
Dancing architect.
But it's just a new form of journalism, VR description. This is
Do you think that as well, Luca?
I mean, it's something I always struggle with, because I know there are certain ways to do like mixed reality, where you at TechCrunch we tried setting up a green screen and doing it so that we could play and kind of see. It's technically difficult for a lot of people to approach, and I think it's also tough explaining something to someone as if it might be their first VR experience, because when you have your first VR experience, it's something really special, and I think that people get in the habit of kind of overcorrecting for thinking that, well, I've seen so much content, I don't want to, just act like this is whatever to everyone who listens to it. But also, I think that there's this problem, mainly, I'd say it's only a problem in mainstream publications, less so trade publications, of kind of just saying everything's great, there's a lot of boring stuff, and it's as hard to get through, and I think that it would be impressive to some people, but it doesn't really do the mainstream consumer any justice to kind of keep peddling shit their way. So I think it's useful to kind of keep it in perspective of, is this actually something that someone paying $2,000 for a headset and computer, are they going to get their money's worth out of it? The answer to most of that is no. So you have to be kind of honest about it.
Luca, your magazine is about digital business first and foremost, and you're writing a column on a regular basis now about VR. How do you think digital business and VR is related to each other, so that is relevant to your readers?
It's really connected, I think, and for our perspective is to show in the business opportunities to use VR. And it's difficult to write about it because it's the thing that you can't show things. You can only show some videos, not mixed videos, mixed reality, only videos about people or about companies who did interesting VR projects, perhaps on the point of sale, and there is standing someone and he's doing funny things. And you think, okay, that's a great case for VR in business. And so I try to think more about VR in a way, what is changing VR in sorts of how we communicate and so on. It's a little less this business perspective in my column, because it's really difficult to show the possibilities. And when you have good business cases, you can show only a video or perhaps a 360 video embedded in your in your post, and that's not what you want to write and want to show our readers.
So your readers are probably somewhat ahead compared to the average German when it comes to digital topics?
Sorry,
When it comes to digital topics, your readers are probably somewhat ahead.
Yeah, I think
compared to the average.
Yeah.
Do you think they already have a deep understanding of what VR and AR means and what it can be in the future?
They should, I think, because they are all business makers, and I think they should. But what I see is that there is no understanding. So I always, also in our editor team, sometimes I have to explain what's the difference between mobile VR and high-end VR, and I think sometimes we're a little in this bubble, and we understand everything, and we know all the platforms and what is happening, and the next months will be great for VR because there are so many events, and so I think the understanding it's not so good. Perhaps the launch of the PlayStation VR will change something, because then there will be a lot of VR goggles, a lot of more of that VR goggles, high-end VR goggles in the houses, and then they understand the people, okay, that's for the gaming console, okay, there are better ones for the PC, and then there are these mobile ones, okay. I think for the next year there will be a little bit more understanding.
And if you just if you just look after the clicks, is there a lot of interest on VR topics compared to other?
Yeah, it's difficult. Online it's difficult, and there are some topics that works, so like, hey, do horror in VR, that's great. Or something like, what's the general problem? I wrote
3 reasons why VR will change the world.
Yes. No, I don't write such things, because when I learned one thing is the tech journalist avoid making predictions. So, and that's a difficult part, because I'm a VR enthusiastic. But you have always to take care a little bit. Okay, do your journalistic homeworks.
Lucas, how is that compared to how is that on TechCrunch? So, are the virtual reality, augmented reality articles, topics, are they performing well compared to other tech topics?
To be honest, it's a little. I think that maybe readers are a little oversaturated over the past few months, and I think that just there's so much news coming out in the lead up to the Rift and the Vive launches that I think people were, maybe they were excited when it was happening, and I think that there just wasn't that much coverage that came out after that, so everyone kind of interpreted that as a build up and a die down in terms of hype. Realistically, it was just the 2 product launches that really define the genre just lined up within a week of each other. And so there's been this kind of cool down waiting for PSVR. And I think that when that comes back up, I think PSVR is a lot more accessible, just because there are almost 40 million PS4s in people's homes. So I think that I think that it will get better. I think that right now people are just like, I don't want to buy a gaming PC. Like I think that's a common reaction. I will say, so I came onto TechCrunch covering a lot more mobile and consumer gadgets, and I've transitioned just because I love it, just to doing pretty much full VR AR, and the traffic on my articles has gone down since I've honestly I think
they don't pay you for traffic.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not out on the streets yet.
I think so as well, that the launch of the PSVR will somehow change the perception and perhaps even the interest, because I realize when I read the readers' comments down the articles, I can see that people really need to experience VR, because first of all, the graphics, when they see screenshots, they say, oh, the graphics look like 1995 or something, that's so boring, and I don't want that. And then they say, oh, I just tried Oculus Rift for the first time, and it's amazing, and many of these people will become VR evangelists themselves in the commentary section, and they tell the other readers, hey, you have to try it yourself. And I think PSVR will do a lot in this sense.
But only for the gaming community, maybe. Luca, I know you wrote a column lately about that, and you criticized that the German mainstream media, at least, is only talking about VR as a gaming gadget and not showing the full potential of a medium.
Yes.
And
I think it's a little bit a problem in Germany that you have, on the one side, this thing that games are something wasting time. It's not like this, like in the US or in England. And on the other hand, then you have this thing called German Angst, you know. So then you have gaming is about only wasting time and this German Angst thing, and you put it together, and VR is such a, it's only for gamers. On this text, I embed a video of the Morgen magazine where Keno was in it. And Keno says in the first minute, yes. People who are in VR have this know that they aren't 100% in this world. They know they are sitting or standing in their living room in the reality. And then it changes. In the video at the end there was a doctor talking about all the dangers of staying too long in VR and what can happen, and that's not good, and that's typical Germany. Yeah,
well, he was asked, so he had to answer, I guess.
Sorry?
He was asked, so he had to answer.
Yes, that's for sure, but why? They talk a little bit about possibilities or applications outside the gaming area, but it was 30 seconds, and then this professor came up and talked about all the dangerous things which could happen in VR, and when you try to stay too long.
I think a lot of journalists think that they don't do their jobs when they don't ask the one critical question at the end. Who thinks of the children? And won't it make us all into like zombies or something? And they think it's really. And then they ask. Sometimes they ask scientists or doctors who didn't even try VR for themselves. So this is not very professional, I would say. Of course, it can be dangerous, but there are not a lot of scientific studies about this.
I'm expecting the next killer game discussion on VR.
Sure,
of
course.
For sure that is coming.
Definitely.
There are also many articles which make you think if you put on a cardboard, you are on the holodeck. That can also be a problem. Lucas, in your DIGILITY biography, you state that you are constantly trying to separate hyperbole from true innovation. How's the ratio right now?
It depends. I think I'm generally impressed by a lot of the hardware I'm seeing, and I mean some of the I find input really intriguing right now because I don't think that anyone has completely figured out exactly the best ways to interact with VR and AR, and I think I'm generally impressed. I mean, some of it's stupid. I think on the content side, I'm often left a little wanting for something a bit better, but you know, there's great stuff. I don't know. There's great stuff and bad stuff.
What's the worst hyperbole you encountered so far? Anything springs to your mind?
I mean,
there's a lot.
I've gone through so many experiences and have just rarely felt sick, but I tried one the other day where it was the person was just breaking all the rules of 360 video, and that it was a kind of a GoPro style video. The company makes a basically like a GoPro net that goes over your face, so it shoots point of view and you can see your body below you. And the person was snowboarding, so the head was like moving back and forth, and I was just standing, and I was like going like this. I just had to take it off and be like, don't show me anything else. It's, you know.
They also did a video like this for the new, what was it, Avenger promo shoot or something like this. one thing, you are covering startups mostly, or you're at least very close to the startup scene. And there are a lot of investors spending big money right now on some of the companies. Do you think we will maybe see something like a .com bubble burst before this whole stuff actually goes mainstream?
I mean, I'm not involved in finance too heavily. I mean, you know, the venture capitalists that I chat with are saying that it's kind of entering a time where they're talking about tightening their belts and maybe not making such crazy investments. But then, you know, something springs along and you're like, oh, $843 million for Magically. You're just like, all right. Like, I think it might be a little different for VR AR because everyone betting in like frontier technologies right now kind of sees it as something that's not going to pay off very soon. So it's not like they're making investment that, you know, no one's expecting any of these companies to go public anytime soon. So maybe they're expecting a little bit of runway. Honestly, I'm probably not the most apt person at TechCrunch to ask that question, but I guess I am the only one up here.
Okay, let's get back to the topic how VR as a medium, as a tool, can actually help journalists do their work. David, I said it in the intro, you actually did your first 360 video in 2010 already. But it was long before the VR comeback was foreseeable. What was your motivation back then to film a 360 video?
We had a contact to a company which offered that, and they wanted to try it in a journalistic way. And there was a large, in the Arena of Schalke, Arena of Schlag, like Robbie Williams once said, there was a large event with many choirs, and they sang some songs, and we ran with a rig through the singers and recorded that and stitched it overnight and put it on the net the next day. So it was almost like producing today, in fact. But the problem was that the player, you had to have a big internet connection, really good computer, and the Flash player was always putting down the browser. So that was not really a good solution back in 2010.
And then VR Googles arrived, and you were like, yeah.
Yes. And then we tried to contact the company again, which made the recordings for us in 2010, and it was now, the company has gone. It's not working anymore because they ran out of money. So it was too early, I guess.
Speaking about money, you are working as a freelance journalist, and how did you sell your 360 content or your productions to your customers or internally at VDR? Was there interest already?
I guess it's a special situation because I worked as a TV journalist for WDR for about 10 years, and so I made I started there years ago, so they know me and they know that I'm interested in new forms of telling stories. We invented a storytelling tool for scrolly telling stories. It's called Page Flow. We invented that in 2013, and so since then I'm really into new storytelling and trying new things.
We have already had trust in you.
It's a bit easier if you have that as a background. Yes.
Okay. Julia, you started as a photographer and you recently switched to VR. What seemed so interesting to you about VR that you said that you invested all the time and the money to learn it and to go out there and film 360 video?
For me, it's a logical consequence. I have a theme and I want to transport the topic. I want to make some conflict scene. So I write, I make photographs, I make film, and it's logic that I use 360 degrees videos. So
you were interested in the potential of more immersion and presence primarily?
It's not just immersion. I don't see it separate. I think it's like an extension, and you can get the user very fast inside the situation. He can orientate. He can see what I'm seeing, but then you need some more information.
So far you were mainly selling stories in form of photos, And is there a fundamentally different approach, how you try to take a good photo and how you try to take a good 360 video?
I don't, when I take, because I'm alone, so I do everything by my own, so I just take the camera, put it somewhere, and I forget it. I just work, and sometimes I'm on it, and I'm totally concentrated on photographing. Just a plus.
So isn't it a problem that you're in the picture? When
sometimes it is a problem, I totally agree, but on the other side, I think it's important because this quality, you know, it's like, it's my opinion, they see what I'm doing, and I cannot, it's easy to manipulate. If I put the rig somewhere and I leave it alone, and I say that's the situation.
Yeah,
the user really needs to have a different situation, or for example, if you're in war, at least you should go on the other side and put the camera as well to the rebel side. Otherwise, it's very tricky. You can manipulate.
But perhaps it's good when you taught you said something about Lügenpresse, and it might be good that the people see the tripod and that they see you as a journalist, because they have the sense that this is authentic.
You brought some. Is it me? You brought some images and videos as well, I think, so we can have a look at it.
We saw it. It's just
Did you already show it?
You see some pictures. I published them in Süddeutsche Zeitungsmagazin, and this is just like, that's in the middle of the village of the warlord, and the people, they never saw white people, and the United Nations tell me it's impossible to go there because they shoot you right away. But they did not. So now, a very famous human rights organization started to really put pressure on me because I made them look stupid. Okay. But I mean, this is like, it has power, and everybody says virtual reality can change something. And if you ask me, this is my way to change something, to put political pressure on some situation.
Okay, thank you. Lutz, Süddeutsche Zeitung is well known for their print product and for high quality journalism. What made you decide to jump on the VR train so early?
Basically, we wanted to know what we can do with that technology, because Süddeutsche Zeitung is sort of famous for its reports, Seite 3, page 3, the long pieces from all over the world, really telling, as a text, immersive stories. And so it's kind of a logical step to try and to experiment whether 360 video can add some value on that, and whether we can tell stories in 360 and be at least as immersive as with a good report, because that's kind of our DNA. And that's something we want to learn. And we want to learn whether, for what topics 360 really adds a value. There will be many topics that don't suit 360 video because you have the focus on one protagonist or whatever. But there will also be many, many stories, and your example is a perfect one. Transfer your reader right in the middle of a place where he has no chance to get to at all. That's the perfect example for the value you can create with 360 video, and that's kind of the core business of journalism.
With all these immersive technologies approaching, potentially changing journalism in some way, do you think that the newsroom or the editorial department needs to change as well, or the organization? Maybe we need journalists who know more about programming, more about engines in the future?
Yeah, definitely, but that's independent from the question whether we work with VR and AR. Newsrooms have to change dramatically because the technological aspect of journalism is becoming more and more important. And I'm not the one who says that every journalist in the newsroom has to be able to code or something, but there have to be people to be able to code, there have to be people to be able to deal with data, there have to be people dealing with VR and all the formats and all the technologies that help you to tell good stories. and use those technologies in the very moment when it suits the story, and that's the point. It's not any longer about text and a picture, and that's journalism. The variety of jobs within the newsroom has enhanced so dramatically in the last years, and that's absolutely necessary because we have to keep up with progress in storytelling.
Regarding storytelling, Lucas, your business is news business at first, I think. So do you believe there's any potential for VR or AR maybe in the news context?
Sorry, are you referring more to like video or in terms of?
Whatever.
Yeah, okay. It depends. I think that maybe if I'm looking at tech news selectively, I think that where VR really finds a lot of its purpose is in kind of giving readers context behind, a lone event that's happening. I certainly think that putting a 360 cam in the middle of like a war area is a little bit, as opposed to putting it up front next to Tim Cook when he's introducing the new iPhone. I think that VR definitely has its areas where it's not used that well. I remember Google I/O had a bunch of 360 cameras set up all over stage, and it's just that's not engaging content. And I think it's a disservice to readers really, because I think it's a little arrogant on the part of newsrooms sometimes when you just show off virtual reality content for the sake of it, versus actually, having well thought out pieces of work that you're kind of, sharing with your readers as this is something that this technology is enabling us to share with you. So I certainly think that there are areas that VR can really enhance journalism, but I think it's important to realize that in other areas the spoken word or the written word is probably better.
So which areas could that be where VR journalism really helps the story the most, especially 360 video?
I think for the specialist journalism, there are a lot of potential to show, I don't know, how the Earth core could look like, or some Great Barrier Reef you can show to your viewers. That's more than just a video, or also for documentations like the piece of The Guardian about the solitary confinement, which is a CGI VR project. So when there is a sense to put the viewer in the middle of the action, I think that's always the question you have to ask yourself. Then it makes sense, yes, but I think there are a lot of